All right, I would like to present to you my WGU Capstone Masters of Science in Curriculum and Instruction Applied Research Project, where I evaluated a curriculum. My research topic in this applied research project, I evaluated our school district's new middle school math curriculum from McGraw-Hill and its effectiveness due to lack of meaningful practice materials. We just finished our first full year of adopting the McGraw-Hill version of illustrative mathematics, and I noticed what I believe to be a hole in the curriculum design. The structure of each lesson follows familiar instructional routines, and there are many positive aspects of the curriculum as a whole and what it provides for teachers as resources. However, one hole that I had noticed is that the students do not get enough repeated practice of basic skills of each math concept, and instead, much of the practice is in word problem or problem solving settings, both in groups and independently. The practice material that is provided is often too complex for students to complete on their own, and as a result, uh, students did not make they did make some growth in that first year, but I wonder if they would make more growth if they had more consistent, repeated practice that followed best practices for concept and skill mastery. So my problem statement of my project was that the McGraw-Hill sixth grade math curriculum has not been evaluated to see how it aligns with best practices related to repeated practice. This may be negatively impacting students' math mastery needed in order to more successfully access knowledge for problem solving. The potential cause is this is a new math curriculum for our school, and it has only been used for 1 year. My research questions that I hope to answer in this project: how does sixth grade McGraw-Hill math curriculum align with best practices for repeated practice, as well as how can sixth grade McGraw-Hill math curriculum be supplemented to align with best practice for repeated practice? Some of the methods of my research were that I use a mixed method using a qualitative survey for math department teachers, as well as a quantitative rubric that I use to evaluate the curriculum. This makes a mixed method of applied research which best meets the needs for my project, as I was able to receive quality open-ended feedback from my math team in order to determine how the curriculum can and should be supplemented in order to better follow best practices for repeated practice, as well as a quantitative numerical data that would help me to analyze the McGraw-Hill curriculum as a whole. So my data analysis techniques, so as I explained previously, I used two different data analysis techniques. First, we had I used the curriculum survey, and I also used the curriculum rubric that allowed me to evaluate the curriculum. And the evaluation will produce two different types of data in a mixed method applied research project. For the quantitative data, I will use descriptive statistics to identify the mode for each of the rubric components from the curriculum analysis, and the quantitative data I will code for themes to answer the research question as a result of having teacher participation or participants completing an educational survey. This research falls under a Category 1 exemption. Summary of results and findings. Based on the curriculum evaluation of each unit from the curriculum text, 35 out of the 56 questions had an answer of yes, that the curriculum did provide evidence of each of the evaluated areas of repeated practice that follows best practices. The mode of this result indicates that overall the McGraw-Hill curriculum practice does follow best practices for repeated practice. However, this also indicates 21 out of the 56 questions had an answer of no, that indicates the curriculum did not provide evidence of each of the evaluated areas of repeated practice that follows best practices for repeated practice for mastery. This indicates that there are areas of weakness in the curriculum practice that could be supplemented in order to potentially better follow best practices for repeated practice for mastery. Summary of findings continued. I was also able to gather data from the teacher responses in the survey. This data has been evaluated and indicates common themes that also helps determine the areas of strength and weakness of the McGraw-Hill curriculum practice, as well as ways that it could be supplemented in order to better meet best practices for repeated practice for mastery. 3 areas for supplemental improvement based on the data that I found were: first, that it needed to have adequate remedial resources provided in the supplemental technology. Second, it needed to have multiple supplemental practices exercises for each lesson. And third, that the lessons need to more explicitly provide instruction that aligns with the problems that they provide in the practice of the curriculum. So what was my product of my project? Well, based on the findings from both the evaluation report and the teacher survey, it is evident that the 6th grade McGraw-Hill curriculum does follow best practices, but there are also holes in the practice, and data suggests that the practice can be improved in order to better follow best practices for repeated practice for mastery. As a result, data will be shared with my PLC math team, and I will propose that we focus our efforts on supplementing the practice for this curriculum in 3 ways. First, increased opportunities for practice with stronger practice banks with a variety of problems for teachers to choose from. This will have to be supplemented from other 6th grade math curriculums or online resources. Second, we will search for improved technology resources that provide individual support and feedback. Third, we will seek out practice that is more engaging and fun through games or tasks that interest students either online or paper handouts. Evaluation of curriculum from rubric. So this data shows that 62% of the curriculum had qualities that followed best practices for repeated practice, while 37% did not. This helped me to identify 2 things. First, the curriculum overall does follow best practices for repeated practice, but also that there are areas that can be improved in order to better meet the needs of students by improving practice to better follow best practices. The teacher survey. Here were the teacher survey questions that I provided, and some of the common themes in the responses that I found from teachers were that practice is a way to make formative assessments that help teachers identify if a student is really reaching mastery. Teachers had to supplement the practice to build or improve fluency or mastery. Teachers supplemented through online resources, additional problems, or worksheets from other websites or curriculums, and they commonly shared that they needed additional practice materials to meet the needs of students in order to better identify if they were fluent or reaching mastery of concepts. Overview of my conclusion. Upon completion of this research project, the 6th grade McGraw-Hill curriculum does follow best practices for repeated practice. However, based on the data provided from the curriculum evaluation and the teacher survey, there are weaknesses to the practice provided. There are 3 ways in which the curriculum could be supplemented in order to better follow best practices for repeated practice. First, increased opportunities for practice with stronger practice banks with a variety of problems that are interleaved for teachers to choose from. This will have to be supplemented from other 6th grade curriculums or online resources. Second, we will search for improved technology resources that provide individual support and feedback that students need. Third, we will seek out practice that is more engaging and fun through games or tasks that interest students either online or paper handouts. This addresses the problem because it will allow us to supplement our existing curriculum practice in order to better meet the needs of our students and improve their learning for mastery on 6th grade math standards. Strengths and weaknesses of methodology. Through the process of this study, there were strengths and weaknesses of our methodology. Some of the strengths of the methodology used in this research were the use of mixed method of data from the qualitative teacher survey as well as the quantitative curriculum evaluation. This strengthened the data collected and provided greater insight to help answer the research questions. The teacher feedback provided real-world application and knowledge from experience. This information really strengthened the quantitative numbers from the evaluation. This applied research methodology also had some weaknesses. One weakness of this study is the sample size of only 5 teacher participants. This data could be more strengthened if there were more teachers participating. Another weakness is some of the teachers have very limited experience using this curriculum. Influential factors. Some of the influential factors of this applied research study is that there are a few teachers that lack sufficient experience applying this math curriculum, which can lead to misleading data. Additionally, my lack of experience performing a curriculum evaluation likely had a large influence on the quality of this study. Lastly, the fact that this is the beginning of the school year and teachers had limited opportunities to apply the practice in this curriculum in this school year also could have influenced the evaluation. Recommendations for further investigation. Based on the results of this study, my recommendation for further investigation would be for me and my PLC to investigate the impact of the supplemental practice that we decide to use in order to better follow best practices for repeated practice for mastery. This investigation could provide a more clear understanding of the effectiveness of that supplemental practice. I hope that you really enjoyed my research project, and thank you for listening.